As you can see, my X-axis belt snapped on my Anycubic Kobra 3 Max, and I aired a lot of my grievances in my previous video, but I neglected to say that many breakable parts are not sold by Anycubic. For example, the Kobra 3 Max is not listed on their website as having a belt replacement, so today we're doing it manually. That means measuring how long our belt should be, crimping it, feeding it through the gantry, tensioning it, and testing. I was also getting error 10411, TMC or Extruder Overheating when I was done, but it actually wasn't either of those. First, our sponsor PCBWay. If you can't get parts like I couldn't, but you're on the clock to deliver a print, then head over to PCBWay. Upload your file, select quantity, material, color, info, whether you have inserts or even an assembly. Not sure? Then you can ask for help from the upload page, and production starts in just a few days. If you need more than 3D printing, check out their CNC machining and custom PCBs. New customers can save $5 using the link in the description below. Before we can replace the belt, we have some disassembly to do. Your first step is to remove something I'll affectionately call the poo flinger if you have any Ace Pros attached. If you don't have any Ace Pros, this may not exist. It's the metal bit that wipes the nozzle, and there are 2 bolts behind it you need to remove and set aside together. Behind the print head, you'll find where the X-axis belt is on the print head. It's looped and slid on, so you can just slide them off by moving the belt. I'm actually doing this for the first time here, so I'm going to do a very optional step and remove the print head so I can see what's going on. I can do this by rotating the eccentric nut on the bottom wheel to the position the print head is the loosest on its rails. Then you can pop it off if you want to. The next required step is to remove the covers on both the tensioner and stepper motor covers. In this video, I unscrewed the tensioner cover from the back, but don't unscrew the third smaller bolt in the middle. That holds the tension gear in place. It can stay on for now. Another very optional step is to remove the X gantry because, again, I wanted to see everything I was doing for the purpose of this video to give you any extra hints, but you do not have to remove this piece. In fact, I recommend you don't. If you do, there are 4 bolts on each side on the back of the gantry. Then I finally removed the stepper motor cover. Order really isn't important for this step. We're ready to replace the belt, but first, like and subscribe if this helped, and make sure you're using the parts I linked in the description below, especially the GT2 belt that has a 2mm pitch and a 4mm width. You also want the GT2 belt clamps listed below as well. I'm using a crimping tool for some of my 12-volt wire connections. It happens to work, but you can also use standard pliers too. I'm going to loop and crimp one end before I measure, because I measured our old belt from the tip of the loop all the way to the other tip of that loop. Since Anycubic has 0 documentation, mine measured about 120 millimeters or 47 inches. I'm going to cut the new belt another 3 inches or 50 millimeters, somewhere around there, further than the mark I made. So I have plenty of slack to adjust and create the loop at the end. If you cut the belt at your mark, it will be too short. Don't do that, because that mark will be the very tippy top of the other side. Once it's ready, slide our crimped end through the X-axis gantry and through the tensioner on the other side. If your print head is there, hook it onto the print head. If it's not, just set it in place where you would imagine it would be. You just want to make sure you're not going to pull too much. I like to button up the parts when I'm done, so after I slide the new belt through, I'm going to put the tensioning springs on the pegs and slide the housing back on and screw it in. After looping your new belt around the stepper motor gear, I also covered that, but you could do these covers later before you test. If you remove the print head, now's the time to pop it back on because we're going to finish our belt. Pull the uncrimped end of the belt to the print head around the stepper motor gear and verify your 120 millimeter mark you made is roughly in the right spot. If so, slide a crimp down the belt for us to use soon, because you won't get it on once the belt's folded over. So now you can fold over the belt so the teeth are actually gripping each other, and make sure your mark is at the very, very end. If all looks good, slide the crimp over your belt, leaving enough room to hook it on the print head. Look at your old belt for reference. then crimp it and slide it onto the print head. Last step, double check your tensioner screw is slightly loose so that the springs can push as needed, because eventually this belt will lengthen a bit. Clean your rails, lube as necessary, and get testing. After putting it all back together, I was getting failing prints because of error 10411, TMC or extruder overheating. I did replace the extruder heater, but I cleaned up the old one and put it back in, so the extruder wasn't the issue. The wiki states the motor drivers on the motherboard were overheating, so check that the heat sinks on it are clean and the fan works. The underneath was immaculate, so it wasn't dirty, and the fan spun up after homing the axes and you move them around, so that wasn't it. The X-axis motor was notably more warm than the other stepper motors, so that had to be the issue, but why? After tensioning the belt and lubing the rails a few times each, I wanted to watch it, so I went to remove the cover over the stepper motor belt gear. Wouldn't you know it, my lost screw was inside because I like to keep the parts together and didn't even realize it. I thought this screw hit the ground and was gone forever when I went for a replacement. It seems the loose screw was adding friction, resulting in non-smooth movement and more power being required, thus adding more heat to the motor and the motherboard. Removing the screw, putting it back together, I was able to print anything I wanted. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if it helped.